Alright guys, so we were looking at if and if else, which we pretty much already had the concept of. So instead we're going to talk about a different way of doing branching. So of our three forms of flow of control, we had sequential, branching. What was the third kind? Yeah, looping. And then the fourth kind, which they didn't mention, which were method, function, procedure calls. Jump to somewhere else entirely, do some code, and then come back. So this is all flow of control. So we did an assignment that looked something like this. If the type of the material was equal to A, then it was ice, right? Then density is equal to 7. I don't remember what it was. Else if the type of the density was aluminum, then the density, was 70 or whatever. Else if the type of it was gold, then the density was a lot higher. Again, specific matters, values don't matter. And then finally, we probably tacked on a fourth one, which was if they chose none of the above, then we printed out an error message. System.out.println. Wrong choice, assuming density of 1. Just so that we could go ahead and continue and we wouldn't get any errors based on our calculations, right? So there we go. We have some if, else, followed by a final else. Okay, and we do have the recorder on. I'm glad to see that. There's another way to write it. The switch statement. The way switch works is you put the word switch on type, and then you list a whole bunch of cases. If it's equal to A, you do something. If it's equal to B, you do something. If it's equal to C, you do something. So that looks like this. It'd be really neat if I could get two notepads going at the same time. Sometimes I can. Like this. Bang that one on that side, bang that one on the other. Switch based on the type variable. In case it's an A, then the density is equal to A. And then break. Kind of wish it wasn't tabbing that far. Whatever. Now let's list a few more cases. Case B. Then the density is equal to 70. Break. Case they chose a C. Then the density is equal to 1200. I just chose the word den rather than density because I'm just tabbing over so far. Then break. And then lastly, a default case. If they don't choose anything else, then print an error message. Print unknown choice, density equals 1, whatever, So I bet you can see that the logic here is pretty much identical. The syntax is different. Which way you like to do it is up to you. I have a strong preference to doing it this way. I think that the code is cleaner and easier to read. It's written like that. And you'll see a lot of code published online that uses switch and case rather than this. Does it matter which one you do? Not really. They do the exact same things.
Can you do more with one another?
Nope, not really. Okay, yes, you can do more with a switch statement than you can with the if. And I'll show you what that is. If you leave off these break statements, what break does is after it sets density equal to 8, it runs down here, jumps to the end of the loop. And it's usually a programming mistake to leave off the break statements. But what that means is if it's an A, set density equal to 8, but since it doesn't hit the break, it immediately sets it equal to 70. And then immediately continues to fall down and sets it equal to 1200, and then it prints unknown. Now, would you want that in this case? Absolutely not. You know, why would you want to set the density to 4 different values in a row? But there is a limited case I've seen where people took advantage. This is known as fall through. You leave the break out and it'll fall through the next case.
Like if you needed to run through like a second column to get some like a different number or something like that? Or?
Right. So what you do, if you care to do something like that, is to switch on a value, and then you have a case on that value, and then you could print something, do something, and then if it was a 2, you could do something else, but if it was a 3, you could do something else still. And since there was no break statement, if it was a 1, it would do both A, B, and C. And if it was a 2, it would do B and C. And if it was a 3, you could do a C. Can I give you a real-world example of when that's a good idea? No. With a little bit of research, I could point you to the algorithm that takes advantage of that. But just know that usually leaving off the break statement is a programming error. Usually you don't want it to fall through to the next case. In this case, it would be, right? Because if they typed in A and we left off the break statement for A, then density would be set to 8, but then it would immediately be set to 70. So when we did our calculations, the calculation would have been wrong. So on the rare occasion where you actually mean for fall through to happen, it's a good idea to not just leave the break statement there and comment it out, but then add the words fall through. That shows that the next person who comes in and looks at your code doesn't try to fix it for you. They don't then go, oh, well, that's dumb. He forgot his break statement, and add a break statement, you know, or uncommented or whatever. Then the words fall through here will mean to the person looking at it, okay, you better understand why I did this, and you better not change it, or else you're going to break the code. Do you have to have that, though? Is it going to change the way it runs? No. I mean, you know, comments are just ignored. So that's the switch statement. How switch works, it jumps to the case constant that matches the controlling expression's value. Now it says constant. And that's something that probably never even occurred to anybody. But you could think that you could get away with doing this. If type was equal to var1, do this kind of stuff. And then if type was equal to var2, do this kind of stuff. This is another case when the if-else-ifs is actually superior to the case statement, because you can't do this. Whereas you could do that, right? You could come over here and make this var1 and var2 and var3, and it would totally work. But unless var1, var2, and var3 had been declared as constants, that wouldn't work. Now, does that normally matter? 99.9999999% of the time, you wouldn't have ever even thought of trying to stick variables as your cases. You would have hard-coded some values. Or at the most, use some enums, which we haven't talked about. I don't know why I'm putting parentheses there. Are they necessary? No, I don't think so. I think I'm thinking of another language where they are. Would they have broken the code, though? No. So the break statement causes a jump out of the switch entirely to go to the bottom brace. Just like a break statement can be used in a while loop to go to the end of the loop. So usually break statements are placed at the end of every case block. It's not a requirement. Sometimes they're omitted for good reasons. Notice how we don't actually mention them. So you put your case, then you put your colon after it, and then you put a block. At a block of code, typically you would indent to make it clear that it's a block of code. Do you have to indent? No. Notice we did put square braces here. Even if we had more than one statement, I mean, especially if we had more than one statement, they would be required, right? You know, print aluminum, like that. Yeah. Since our block of code consisted of more than one statement, we had to put these braces there. But over here, they're kind of implied. Print aluminum, you know, like that. You don't have to use parentheses. Does it break it, though? No. Sometimes I'm kind of tempted to do that, just to make it look like an if statement, but it's certainly not necessary. Don't need to use the braces there. So is there anybody who's sitting here today who didn't get to do the in-class assignment from Tuesday? Raise your hand. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new Dropbox that has the source code for Tuesday's assignment.
Is there not a video for it?
Well, there is, but I want you to make a modification to it right now. So unless you were going to wait. So let me do that. I'll just grab somebody's homework. Pretty much at random, okay. Why didn't you open it when I said open it? Nah. Okay, great. Thank you, James. All right, go. As soon as I unhide it. Go to the iDropbox, refresh it. You'll see a document. Open that document. Grab everything out of main. Just copy from the beginning of main all the way to the end. And this is only for the people who don't already have it. Otherwise, just open up the code that you did on Thursday. Which is what I'm going to try to do. And then create a new project and paste it within the main. Why? Go in and change all your ifs to case statements. Ought to take about 3 minutes. Does that mean that you need to change your homework as well? Not really. If you feel like it, go for it. If you've already submitted your homework, do you have to do it? No, of course not. Alrighty, it doesn't have my newest project, so I'm going to paste Java application. Create my new application, paste the stuff out of I, where it says Alrighty. See, I have three. Okay, now wait. Did we do case and switch?
Yeah. That's what I was wondering what you're trying to do. I was all like,
Have I spent 17 minutes talking about topics we've already covered? Great. All right. Change these back to ifs. No, I'm kidding. Phooey. Alrighty. So, given this code fragment, if they type in 1, what's it going to print? It's going to print an A. Then is it going to fall through to B? Say it with me. Yes or no? Is it going to fall through to B? There's a break statement, so no, it's not going to fall through to B. So if it was 1, it's just going to print out A. But if they type in a 2, it's going to print B, and then is it going to fall through?
yes.
Yeah, so it's going to print CD. Check it out here, what they did here. They just changed some cases in a row. That's perfectly valid. It's perfectly legit. So if they type in a 3, it's going to jump here. It's kind of got this fall through here built in. It prints out CD, and then it breaks. And then if they type in a 4, the same thing happens. It goes to here. It executes that print statement. It prints out CD, and then it breaks. And then if they type in a 5, none of the above. It doesn't match 1, 2, 3, or 4. So it comes down here and it prints the default, prints E through Z. So this actually is of interest right there. Maybe you have multiple cases that the same thing needs to happen on. Multiple error codes, for example. Regardless of what the error code is, maybe you still want it to go and execute a certain block of code. Then in that case, you could list all those cases. Another example is if you're doing a telephone to digit, kind of thing. A, B, and C are tacked onto the 2 key, if I believe, and then D, E, and F are tacked onto the 3 key, and so on. Like that. So nobody uses these letters anymore, right? But when you had your flip phone, if you wanted to text hi to somebody, you'd type 44 to get the H, and then you'd wait a minute. Then you'd click another 4, and it would do the I, so on. These letters, have existed since the 40s, or whenever the first person invented the touch-tone type. Maybe they were even on the rotaries. I don't know. Midwest City had a code that was assigned to their phone number. And you could say that Midwest City's phone number was Regent 4-3113, or Regent 7-3113, or Regent 3. And so anyways, you'd type in R, which was a 7, and then an E, which was a 3, and then you type in the rest of the phone number. So 7374113, whatever. So nowadays, of course, Midwest City has other prefixes as well as 73, and nobody uses those 2-letter prefixes anymore. But I went over to somebody's house and they had a really, really old phone, and it did say Regent 37213. Somebody put their phone number on there, and for some reason they'd actually done the whole word like that. I don't know if it came from the phone company like that or not. So you could write something that would translate letters into a phone number. Just like call 1-800-I-love-Java. Okay? So you would type in 1-800, and then you'd find the I, 4, love, so 5, 6, find the V, 8, E. So usually what I make the assignment is just to convert letters to numbers like that. So if you wanted to convert love Java, you'd find out what an L was, it's a 5. You'd find out what an O was, it's a 6. You'd find out what a V was, it's an 8. You'd find out what an E is, and a 3, and then you'd print those out. It'd be kind of neat if you converted it to that mode where you had to press, 1 for A, or excuse me, you pressed it once to get the A, you press the key twice to get a B, you press the key 3 times to get a C. So just like your old flip phone texting, you know, be home soon. You know, if you wanted to type in the words B-E, you'd have to type in 2-2 for the B, and then 3-3 for the E. Wow, why are these all twice? 4-4 for the H. 6-6-6, get to the O. You know, where's the M? 6 once for the M. Kind of be fun to do that. I'm reluctant to give y'all that assignment and the other one, but I think that'd be pretty neat. The C class does the straight text, the straight letter to number conversion. But let's just play with that for a little bit. Go ahead and create a new project. And so character CH is equal to an A. I ought to make it a string, but whatever. Okay. Kind of hesitating here, mulling something. And then you'd have a switch statement. And maybe we could use fall through here. But let's think about it. Let's try to switch on CH. And if it's an A, how many times would they have to press? And what key would they have to press to generate that? Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You all have sent text messages on flip phones. Or maybe y'all are too young and you've had iPhones. You know, I guess they have been out for 10 years. You may have never had to do this. So to type an A, you would press a 2 in once. So let's just print a 2. System.out.print a 2. And then a break. And then if it's a B, you would have to click that twice. System.out.print 3. Break. I'm suddenly beginning to feel like I'm talking about vinyl records or, you know, wax cylinders in a generation that uses MP3 players. Case C colon, you'd print it. Wait, I made a mistake. You don't print out 3 there. You print out 2 2s in a row because you'd have to press that key twice. And in system.out.print, to do a C, you'd print out 3 2s, right? So how many D's are you going to print out? Excuse me. How many 3s are you going to print out if they want to type in a D? 1, and then to print out an E, we need to hit 3 twice, and to print out an F, we need to print 3 times. Kind of feel like going ahead and doing all of those, so let's do D, E, and F as well. I'm also tempted to cut and paste to speed up my typing. System.out.print a single 3 for a D. If it's an E, I'm going to print out 2 3s in a row. And if it was an F, print out 3 3s. So my question to you is, could we use fall through to make this a little bit simpler? How would I set it up so that if you press C, we would print out 3 2s, If I pressed B, we would print 2 2s, and if I pressed A, we would print 1 2. Taking advantage of fall through, what would I have to do? Anybody got a guess, even if you're not sure it's right?
What was the question again?
How could we make it so that if they typed in a C, we'd print 3 2s. If they typed in a B, we'd print 2 2s. If they typed in an A, we'd print only 1 2, using fall through.
Would there be a way to just add a 2 onto the next string?
You could add it onto a string. That would actually be the best idea. But
Just change the order of it.
change the order of them. Yeah, so that if you do a C, you print a 2. And then if you do a B, you print a 2. And then if you print an A, you print a 2, like that, right? So if they click C, it's going to print 2, 2, 2, and then break. But if they click B, it's going to print out that 2, and it's going to print out that 2, and then break. And then if they click A, it's going to print that 2 and break. And I've never given this example before.
You have to change the print names.
No, I don't mind them just being prints.
Oh,
So that it'd print 2, 2, 2, you know.
that's fine.
And then it'd be maybe kind of neat to print out a space between each one, or not, I don't know. Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea to print a space to break them up. I guess we could do that on the A case. But anyways, you get the idea. Hopefully it fall through. I'm still slightly dubious about assigning this, but I think it's kind of a neat idea. I may throw this back at you later. What do we need to know in order to actually make this more useful would be to how to pull out each character from a string. Because what if I did this? What if I, instead of a character, what if I did string, and then my text that I wanted to parse was, you know, B, C, D, A, F, something like that. How would I pull out each character so that I could do a switch? And I don't think we've talked about that. Or have we? Yeah, we have in other classes. But how would we get that B out of that string? And then how would we get that C out of that string? Nothing wrong with giving y'all sneak previews of stuff that we're going to hit in the future. I'm correct. We haven't talked about that, right? Okay. So, let's do this. For, have we talked about for loops? No. Didn't we? Did we talk about for loops?
Yes.
Was that a yeah? I get all my classes mixed up. I'm looking at you now. Tell me if we've done for loops or not. All right, we're going to use a while loop. I is our counter. For I is equal to 0. And then while I is less than the length of the string, text.length, not test, then get that character out like this. Char, ch, is equal to text dot, and I know that this is stuff that we haven't talked about, char at, that's position. And then we could do a switch based on that character. And it's giving me a problem because I put a colon there like this was Python. Let me remove that colon and replace it with a brace.
It wouldn't let me do a char, it forced me to change it to a string.
String would work, but I thought char at returned a character. I'll be right over. Whoops. Nope, that didn't work for me at all. Let me come look at your code. And then I'm going to have to increment I. So after that char ch is equal to text.char at, just do I++. And don't freak out if you don't get all that stuff about the strings. I'm going to test it and then I'll be back. Alright, so it did print a whole bunch of 2s and some 3s without any breaks, so we don't know which applies to which. We could fix that. Go down here to after the brace, after the last break, and just do a system.out. Maybe a print line, so that we'll print each number on its own line. Okay. So there we go. 2, 2 is the first thing we typed in, and then followed by a 2, 2, 2, followed by a 3, and then followed by a 2, and then a 3, 3, 3. Okay. I'm curious about your string now. We don't have these 2 lines yet.
Well, yeah, I had to finish typing it earlier, when
Oh,
we were
okay.
doing earlier, with the first section, it wouldn't let me do char.
Maybe you had double quotes around the C. Unlike Python,
Yeah, that's right.
then, yeah, so if you're getting problems, it's warning you, make sure that you typed, or not warning you, not letting you compile, make sure that you type apostrophes there rather than double quotes. In this language, unlike Python, it distinguishes strings from characters, from chars, based on whether you have double quotes or single quotes. All right, I'm going to tack on a few more cases myself. To make it more text on the screen, I'm going to put the prints on the same line as the case. Is that legal? Yeah, sure. But I'm going to leave the breaks on their own. And then I'm going to continue to do that reverse order thing. F, E, and D. Print out 3s. And then to speed things up, I'm going to copy several of those and paste them. What block am I doing next? I'm doing the 4 key, which is G, H, and I. So copy and replace those with G, H, and I in reverse order. G, H, and I. Print out 4, 4, and 4. Doing it in that mode, it wouldn't take me long to get all the way through Z. So is there any word we can spell just with these letters? What's the longest word? I don't know. Deaf, D-E-A-F. Head, H-E-A-D. I kind of like head. So I'm going to come back up here and change my input text to H-E-A-D. And it prints out 443323. If I go and look at my little graphic, 4 4's an H, 3 3's an E, 2's an A, 3's a D. So yeah, it seems to be working. It's kind of belaboring the point to go and do the whole thing. Guess I could leave that as a homework assignment, but it is relying on char and text.length, which are things that I don't think we've covered yet. So we'll leave this alone. But what are these 2 things doing? Text.length, well, this is a string. We have to be able to get the length of the string. You Python users did it like this, length of text. And you Python users did this, char by typing in text square brace I. And you Python users didn't have a switch statement. For some reason, the mad inventor of Python didn't add support for switch statements. Hope that's kind of clear. And then we're going to get back to those string functions again. That's probably enough about switch statements. There, I think we've kind of redeemed the fact that I've spent 2 lectures talking about them by actually coming up with a reason to use fall through. And you could not duplicate this functionality exactly with if-else ifs. Of course, you could just do if, print 2, else if, print 2, 2, 2, else if, print 2, 2, 2, you know. You could duplicate that, but this would actually be faster to do it this way. And by faster, I mean it'd execute faster, not that you could program more quickly. And for the most part, we aren't trying to program for maximal speed. Python is not the fastest language in the world. If you need maximal speed, you should switch to C++ because it gets compiled to an executable, and that executable is optimized to the exact architecture. You know, the Windows x86 architecture or whatever, as opposed to the Macintosh architecture, as opposed to, you know, whatever, depending upon your operating system and the chips that it works on. Just about all the games that you play on your Xbox, or everything that you download and run as a game, is probably written in C++. Learning Java is a good stepping stone towards learning C++ or vice versa. There are differences in the language, but there's a lot of similarities as well. Anybody need me to come back and look at that? You're getting weird syntax errors you wish resolved? Nope. Alrighty. Alright, so write a program that reads in the zip code and uses the first digit to print the associated geographic area. Alright, now this is making me think that they're going to show us how to use char, because otherwise how would you get the first digit? We'll find out. Anyways, so if the zip code begins with a 0 through 3, it means that it's on the East Coast. A 4 through 6 means it's in the Central Plains. A 7 means it's in the South, and so I guess we're considered part of the South according to the mailing system. 8 to 9 is the West, and anything else? Well, what else is there? 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there is nothing else. So I don't know why we have that. Social Security numbers were distributed in a similar fashion for a long time. If you started off with a 4-4 or a 4-5 or a 4-6 or whatever, it meant you were born in Oklahoma, and if you had a 8-6, 8-7, 8-8, it meant you were born in part of Texas or whatever. I doubt that they follow those kind of positional rules anymore. Oh, they are using char. Alright guys, we've seen it in a PowerPoint. You have to memorize it. What about that? Okay, so they're programmed to read in a zip code and then to type out whether you're on the East Coast, the Central Plains, or in the South based on that zip code. What they use is they use a scanner. They declare a string called zip. They print a message saying enter your zip code. Then they read it in with .next line. And then based on, on the first character, char 0. So this is a method that's attached to the string class. And what it does is it returns the specified character at the specified position, starting at index value 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if we had this string enter, that E is at position 0. It's at char 0. That N is at 1. That T is at 2. Not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, a while loop. Use a loop statement if you need to do the same thing repeatedly. And honestly, there's no looping that you can't do with a while. There are optimizations. The for loop is a really nice syntax, and the do loop does something a little bit different. But if you had a language without a do loop, such as Python, or if you had a language without a for statement, all the versions of assembler out there, then you could still get it. You could still get the job done with a while loop. So write a method that finds the sum of user entered integers. where minus 9999 is the Sentinel value. Have we written a program like this that had a while loop and we typed in a series of numbers adding them up?
Like the gold one,
Like which one?
that last one you did?
That was asking for input and converting a number to another number, not adding them up. Okay, so we're going to write a program that lets them enter a series of values, whether it's scores or, anything, adds them all up until they hit a Sentinel value. And a Sentinel value is the one that kills the input process. Kind of like if you said enter a number or -1 to quit, and then they kept entering values. Or enter a name or Q to quit, and hopefully Q isn't a name unless you're a Star Trek fan. So let's give that a shot. Let's open up a new project. I guess we could just tack it onto this one. I'd rather do a new one though. You only have to turn in one of these. So we know we need a loop. Why? Because we're going to let the user type in numbers over and over and over. Let's tell them what we're going to do. System.out.println, type in numbers to add, enter -99999. I just use -1. The book goes a little more hardcore on us. To stop and display the sum. Okay, that's a really long string. I'm going to break that into a few extra print statements. You can break it up how you like it. You don't have to break it up in the same fashion that I am. There's always more than one way to write this kind of Sentinel loop. I use a while true. The book doesn't show a while true, I believe. The book does something a little bit different. They do what's known as a priming read. I guess I'll demonstrate it the way they did it. But then after a while, I'm going to switch to using a while true loop and a break. Okay, so anyways, enter in numbers to add. So we don't have a scanner yet. Better declare a scanner. Scanner SC is equal to new scanner system.in. Go and add your import for that, or click on the error and say add import. Now I have my import and I'm feeling good about it. And while I'm here, I'm going to delete the package statement and fix that error. So I'm just going to click up at the top and say move class to correct folder. And also while I'm here, I'm going to put in my student name and date. All right, enough of that. Get back down to where I was. Clean out these unnecessary comments. Here we go. What number to add? Or just even a question mark would do. Yeah, question mark. How about that? System.out.println. Or how about just print? So that they can type in the number on the same line that the question mark appears. Now let's read in our number. Int number is equal, why don't we use doubles? Double D is equal to scanner.next double. And while double is not equal to -999999, let's add that onto our sum, and this is going to be a syntax error that we'll have to go and fix. Sum, or total, if we were doing Python, we would assiduously avoid using the word sum, plus equals the number they just typed in. And then after all that, we'd want to print the sum. So system.out.println, the sum is space end quote followed by a plus followed by a sum. All right, I'm getting a syntax error. Why am I getting that? I'm not going to click on the error and fix it. I'm just going to let you tell me. It hates that word sum, and why is that? Not because it's a keyword like in Python, it's just because hasn't been declared and initialized. So somewhere I need to declare what sum is. Double sum is equal to 0. That makes that error go away. Okay, now that's great, but I'm not really done yet. This would be an infinite loop if they typed in anything other than 99999. And the reason for that is I never got the input again. I only got the input one time. So I need to print out my message again. System.out.println, another question mark, to indicate that they need to give me another number. And then D is equal to sc.next double, parentheses in parentheses. And honestly, well, there are two ways of arranging your variables. One is to go up to the top of main and declare all of them. And the other is to declare them as you need them. And it's kind of up to you as to which method you like. I'm always tempted to move them up to the top of main, but on the other hand, I kind of also like leaving them, so I don't really follow one way or the other. You can pick that as your personal style. If you're a C programmer, not C++, but C, you have to define all your variables up at the top of your method, or else it just won't work. All right, there's a possibility this will actually work. Display the sum. Enter 999 to stop. So there was, type in some numbers to add. 30, 23, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I used print line rather than print, so it's not putting a question mark on the same line as my input. Now I'm tired of it all, so I'm going to type in minus 99999, and it should quit. Oh no.
Yes.
I guess it wants 6 nines. Alrighty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why I make it -1, but I guess you might actually want to add -1 to it. And the sum is blah, 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 4.5 e to the 8th in my case. What would be niftier is if we read this in as a string, and then if they typed in quit, it would bail out, but if they typed in a number, we would use it as a number. Okay, what do I not particularly like about this loop? It's the fact that we have a priming read. This is what's known as a priming read, or priming input. In order to get this loop to work, you have to ask the user for some data, and then if it's valid data, you enter the while loop, you do something with the data, and then you ask them for more data inside the loop. To me, it bugs me that we're printing this question twice. We're doing this input and this question in 2 different places. Pretty much it gets drilled into you as being a professional programmer that you don't copy and paste code, that you try to only do it at once. By the way, I just made a change. I just changed this to print rather than print line so that the question mark and my input fall in the same line. I could rewrite this so that it didn't require a priming read. Make sure it works. Minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, still works. Okay. Let's rewrite this code so that it doesn't require a priming read. Let's tell them instead system.out.println, enter a series of numbers to multiply, just to change it around. System.out.println, enter 999999 to stop and display result. All right, so what I do then is I do while true. This means repeat this loop infinitely until a break statement is hit. So while true, let's display our message. System.out.println, print just print line, not print line. And instead of a question mark, I feel like doing a greater than sign. Or a colon or something. Now let's let them type that number in. D, I'm going to have to declare another variable, but it's not going to be called sum because we're doing, anyways. D is equal to sc.next double. And if D is equal to negative 999,999, then break. Else, multiply that onto our total. Total equals total times D. I could just do total times equals D. Again, I've forgotten to declare and initialize. Now, since we're multiplying, I'm not going to start at 0. Why would that be? If I set total equal to 0 to begin with, I should call it product, eh? But anyways, if I set total equal to 0 and then I start multiplying other numbers by it, what's my answer always going to be? It's always going to be 0. So instead I want to set total equal to 1. And honestly, it'd be kind of nice to print out what the current total is, right? We didn't do that on the other one, but why not? Print line total so far, colon, plus the total. All right, I've made some dumb mistakes. I didn't make this negative 99999, and I'm going to make this just say type negative 999 to stop. I'm going to remove that display result because we're displaying our total as we go. Okay, so what's different about this loop than the other loop? Besides the fact that it's got a break word in it and the other one didn't. It doesn't have a priming read. You just go straight into the while loop, you read, and then if you get invalid data or you get your Sentinel value, that's when you break. That's when you terminate your loop. I prefer this style of programming. If you like the other style, if it makes more sense to you, that's totally okay. As we go on in this class, I'm probably never going to use another priming read again. So, if you thought it was cool, switch to using it yourself, but all of my examples are going to be like this. Why? Because I don't like having to duplicate the code. I don't like having to print out the question, have my input statement, and then have my while loop and have that stuff repeated in it. Here it's only in here once. Does that make sense? Y'all see the differences? Let's see if it works. Display the sum. Now I'm already tired of that game, so I'm just going to type in negative 99999 right away. Enter a series of numbers to multiply. Alrighty, I can do that. 5, 76, 0.01 or 0.01. Yeah, whatever. It's working until I type in negative 999,999, and then it stops. Okay, my other sloppiness is I had varied the number of 9s required to get it to stop, so I'm going to just scroll up and fix that. Okay. And I'm really tempted to make it so that they type it in as a string. They wouldn't know the difference, but we would have to convert it to a double, but we could check to see first if it said quit. I'd rather they type quit to stop rather than a funky Sentinel value, but Sentinel values work. If it's something that negative numbers are not allowed, I just make my Sentinel value -1. You know, type in a series of test scores or -1 to exit. What if we needed to keep track of how many numbers they had multiplied. What could I do to this while loop? What could I do to this code right here in order to also have a counter telling me how many numbers that they added? The silence is deafening. So I'll repeat the question. I want to keep track of how many numbers they type in, how many numbers they are multiplied. So I need a counter. What am I going to do to my code to get that to work?
You could set like a count to 0, and then
Right. So I'm going to need a variable to hold my counter. Int counter is equal to 0. Why did I make it an int? Because, you know, they're not entering 1.5 numbers. They're entering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And then every time we get a good piece of data, we are going to increment that counter. Now you see this else statement? That's really unnecessary actually, and I'm going to delete it. Why? Because otherwise I'd have to add a curly brace there, add a curly brace there, and then type in counter plus plus. I'm going to remove that stuff. Why can I delete the else statement with impunity? Why would it still work? Right, because if it doesn't break, it doesn't have any choice except to do this stuff, right? Break means leave the loop immediately, but if it doesn't leave the loop immediately, what's it going to do? It's going to do that total plus total equals total times d. And then I can add 1 to my counter. Alrighty. Let's see if we have any homework coming up that's based on the idea of these while loops. On account of rain or disaster, though, you need to be able to exit the loop early. So, let the user exit the loop early by typing in a -1. You could get this program done without a loop if I hadn't tacked that on. How could you do that? You could just declare 9 variables, right? A1, okay, innings. I1, I2, I3, I4, I5, and then you could have 9 input statements. But I want you to use a loop. So write a score tracking program for a baseball team that adds the scores for 9 innings of a game using a loop. It will need to let the user enter 9 values. So instead of while true, you're probably going to need something different, right? Maybe you could get it to still work with a while true, but instead you're going to need something counting. And when that counter hits 9 or something like that, it also needs to break. There's more than one way to do that, and I'll let you figure it out. All right, let's make our drop boxes. Phone, text message, and or the sum product loop.
So what about I?
Did I skip I?
Well, you had that one deal in there that.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll rename this I and delete that file. Thank you. Alrighty. I. Loops. Text message and sum product. I'm not going to get mad at you if you only turn in one, but you may as well turn in both so you have them available to you. By the way, do y'all all know about the Locker? You can choose Locker and you can upload files there, just kind of like a Dropbox utility, you know, if you install Dropbox in your computer and you can download it later or whatever. So if you ever need to stick files that you don't want attached to a specific class, but you want them available to you when you're using D2L, you can use the locker to do that. All right, so that's I. And this homework will be homework 7. It'd be really neat if it tracked both teams and then declared the winner at the end. So that's extra credit. Okay, so after they've typed in a -1, they're supposed to print out the sum of the values, the final score. Extra credit, keep track of 2 sums, 1 per team, and then say whether team 1 or team 2 won. All right, guys, any question? Yes, sir.
Both the programs today.
I would upload them both. I'm not going to count you off if you don't, but yeah, I'd upload them both.
Well, I don't think I really finished.
Okay,
the
that's cool.
other
Just
one.
upload the one you did. No problem. If I make you later on do a homework based on the idea of that text message thing, then what I'd do is I'd include that code in it. But I don't think I'm going to. I think we got the idea of it, honestly.